Hi, Jim Ziegler, the Alpha Dawg, and we got a special broadcast for you today. Special people, special information. The boys from SearchLab, and we're visited by the BDC diva herself, Bobby Heron. Okay, first of all, the foremost PPC pay-per-click expert in the world. The smartest guy in PPC. I mean, we're talking about a genius. We couldn't get him, but we got Mark Irvine.
Wow. Thank you. I was going to say too kind, but I guess it's just okay to be back.
Okay, so anyway, actually, Mark, tell us about your credentials, big guy.
Yeah, so if I were one to like talking about myself, which I am, I've been named one of the 25 most influential PPC experts every year for the past 7 years by a company called PPC Hero. In 2019, I was named their #1 PPC expert in the world by PPC Hero.
#1 PPC expert in the world?
Yes, in the world by PPC Hero. Right behind me is the crown I received in 2019, as well as behind me, if you're keeping track, there is a trophy from a small company called Microsoft that gave me the same honor in 2019 as well. So
that's amazing.
I see the flag here. Is that
it? And an old friend of mine, this is the king of search himself, Greg Gifford. Hey, big guy.
What's going on, my friend?
Okay, well, tell me what's going on with SearchLab. What are you doing?
We're rocking and rolling. We are, working with a bunch of new people, getting awesome results, growing the team, getting ready for NADA in a month. So we're nice and busy. And
the CEO of the company himself, the founder, Greg Bealin. Hello. Mark, hi. Greg Bealin.
You're two people now.
Yeah, so usually it's the other person who gets confused with me, the other Mark. So, no, it's great to be back with you, Jim and Bobby. It's great to see you. It's good to be back with friends.
Nice to see you too.
Okay, first of all, why do we need SEO in today's market? I mean, we can sell virtually every car we can lay hands on. Anybody take that question?
Did you tee that one up enough for you, Greg? You got that?
Yeah, no. I mean, yeah, because of the fact that nobody is having problems selling cars is exactly the reason you need SEO, because it really highlights the fact that it's always been true. SEO isn't really just about getting you to show up for selling the cars that you have to sell. You're pretty much going to show up for those anyway. It's showing up for all of the other things that you do. Fixed ops is a huge opportunity, and parts is a huge opportunity. Used cars is a huge opportunity, and in today's market, buying cars is a huge opportunity. We have a lot of dealers.
Are you guys doing that?
Oh yeah, like buyback campaigns are huge right now, and dealers have always said, "Yeah, we'll buy your car even if you're, even if you don't buy one of ours, we'll buy your car." Whatever the silly messaging they have on the pages, but now a lot of dealers are being really aggressive about making offers of, we'll get you a kick-ass offer on that deal. Come sell your car to us. Don't sell it just off Craigslist or Facebook or whatever it would be. And so there's a lot of opportunity there for other things outside of selling the new cars that nobody has any problem selling right now. But you also have to think forward.
Right.
This chip shortage and inventory shortage is going away at some point. Now, if you'd asked me that last year, I would have not thought it would still be as bad as it is.
Oh my God, it's going to go through 23, maybe.
It probably, but who knows? Maybe they figure something out and get it fixed in 6 months, or even if it's next year, whatever it is. We all know at some point the chip shortage is going away and inventory levels are going to start to go back up. If you stop doing SEO because you're thinking, well, I can save on SEO for right now because we don't need it because we're selling cars and making money hand over fist. What happens a year from now when you have inventory back and now you don't show up because all your competitors were doing SEO and you didn't? Right. You can't just turn it back on and be okay, because the further down you go, the further back up you've got to go once inventory returns. So it's a really bad idea to not do SEO.
What's your take on that, Bobby?
It's crazy because right now there's never been a better time to swipe in and steal your competition's business, because a lot of dealers are thinking they're in a position where they should cancel things. And SEO is a conversation between your content and Google, and they like to have a long conversation. So right now, if you're not doing it, is the perfect time to step in and do it. And if you are, it's the perfect time to scale it up because it's not an overnight thing.
No, it's something you have to build up. Mark, check in on that. Mark Irvine?
Yeah, no, I think it's one of those things. One of the things you have this conversation about when you have this conversation, be it SEO, be it paid search, but as a search conversation, really the people are in market searching for a car far longer than just that weekend that they go to your lot. And so as you have this conversation, I think Google estimates that the average person visits 27 sites before they arrive on your lot, and they do that over the course of 90 days. So if you're looking at an SEO campaign that might take 90, 100 days, 6 months to see yield results, or even your paid search campaigns that are driving that traffic, that are your customers, not here today, February, but the people who start searching today are your car buyers of May, you have to keep your gas on the pedal here. It's very similar. I live in Boston, and we have a saying in the Northeast that we go, yeah, no, snow is a real thing. Ice is a real thing. But one thing that they teach you is that when you go into a skid, you don't put on the brakes because you'll spin out. Instead, how you get out of a skid is you keep the gas going and you'll drive out of that. And that's a lesson that dealerships have to remember here today as well.
Okay, so what you're saying, Mark, jump in on that, please.
Yeah, and I appreciate that time horizon. I think that's really important, that people are going to make these decisions over a long period of time. And then also just the activities that we do. So if you're doing an SEO campaign, the activity that we do today might not really make any difference for the next 90 days, for the next 6 months in some cases. And so when you think about SEO, that time horizon is really important, because it's not a faucet that you turn on and it just works right away. Even PPC isn't that way necessarily, although it's more true in the case of PPC. With SEO, you have a long time horizon for the customer journey, and then you need a lot of activity to ultimately, appear prominently on the search engine results page in SEO as well. So I think that, starting this conversation, as you think about the chip shortage, you have a long time horizon when you think about your customers and how they find you on search.
Well, a lot of dealers have laid down and stopped advertising, not just their PPC, not just their SEO, but I see websites where they've dropped inventory, which is absolutely ridiculous, because just because you don't have a model in stock, you don't stop advertising it. I mean, when you stop advertising a model just because you don't have it in stock, and I think that a lot of the web providers are doing that. They're dropping inventory they don't have. And guess what? I would be advertising order units. I would still be bringing people in.
Well, it's like fix stops. Why do you have a service lane at your dealership? Once somebody buys the car, why should you care? It doesn't matter. The car's gone. Well, no, because they're going to have to bring the car back for regular maintenance to keep that car running and keep that car working. Same thing with your website and digital marketing. You can't just do it for a little bit and stop, or not do it in the first place. You got to continue to do SEO and paid search and all the marketing that you do to maintain your presence and nurture that presence and keep it front of mind and top of visibility. So it's just like getting oil changes and fluid changes and rotating your tires. It's all the things that, you got to do this. It's just part of doing business. It's not an option.
Well, and you think about
we were talking yesterday. We had a dog pound show on fixed operations, and right now there is a huge tech shortage. I mean, there are so many places that you can advertise, and so many things you can advertise for. Service is huge. I mean, service is going to pay the bills.
Yep.
And think about for a minute, the cost of your advertising, it's significantly reduced when you have a core strategy, and it has to start with SEO. If I tell everybody all the time, if there's only 2 products that I can use for marketing in any business, I'm going to start with SEO, because it's not marketing, it's foundational and it's a conversation. And then I'm going to focus on social, right? I then add to that, because I look at PPC as a version of social as well, when we're looking at that and going together. So for dealers that are listening, canceling things that you don't understand fully, and it's okay not to understand them. You need a partner who will help you that you can trust. But canceling things you don't fully understand to save money during a time when you're making more than you ever have is silly. It doesn't make any sense, and it will affect your strategy next year, and it will affect you wildly, and you will spend the entire year fixing the mistakes that you made this year by doing that.
Yep.
Well, the biggest thing dealers have to concentrate on, we have got to keep our lots stocked. With the inventory shortage, we've got to buy back from the public. We got to buy back from our previous customers. And Greg, what kind of buyback campaigns are you guys doing?
I mean, it's just, you got to think about SEO the right way. And that's understanding why you're doing what you're doing. Even if you're using a vendor partner to do SEO, it's important to at least have a basic understanding about how things work so that you know you're getting your money's worth and you know you're working with the right person. And one of the most basic ideas to hold in your head is that if you want to show up as a search result when somebody types in a particular keyword phrase, then you need a page of content on your website about that concept. And that page needs to be the best answer in the local area to the question that the searcher is asking. So if you want to be buying inventory off of the general public, you got to have content up about that. People are going to be looking to sell their car, but they're not necessarily wanting to go to the dealership because they have that idea in their head that they're going to get pressured into buying something else. So you've got to answer those questions about, yes, we will buy your car. Yes, we will give you a good deal. No, you don't have to buy a car from us. No, we're not going to pressure you. So it's,
and no, you're not going to spend a lot of
message
time
out
in
there
the
so
store.
that people know that you provide that solution. That's the important bit.
So you got to give them the information. We were talking about service yesterday. And one of the things we talked about service is there's only 1 or 2 pages about service on the dealer's website. There are dozens of pages. What do you suggest?
Well, I mean, it's the same thing that you take that same idea of you need a page about any concept that you want to show up for. And this is where most dealers really miss out on fixed op side of things, because they'll, you said 2 pages. Typically, dealerships have 1 service page, and that's it. And it's a service scheduling page that doesn't even have any content, because that service scheduling form is something that's iframed in from whatever service scheduling platform they're using. And nothing in an iframe shows up to Google. So Google sees an empty page and that's it. And the dealers wonder why they're not showing up for oil changes and tire rotation. So it's get content around each one of those services that you provide. And you need a whole page, not just a single, dealers that have a page that's a general information page about the service department. There might be a bullet point list of every service that you provide, but that's not what I'm talking about. You need an individual page for each thing.
Brent Jobs has his own page.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, and it needs to not be the OEM page, right? Like Dealer Inspire is in the middle doing all these launches for websites that they're finalizing through the OEM. And so one of the ones we just came up against is the GMC pages. And so they have these required like brake page, oil change page, but it's the exact same content across all of those sites. So it's not original. It's not, Google is not looking at it like you're doing a good job. And the real big thing is we have a tendency, and probably in a lot of industries, but especially in ours, to be so afraid to have a conversation that we can't control that we try to withhold the information. And then we have BDCs and sales floors and service drives blowing up, trying to answer questions they're not empowered to answer and that they don't know the answer to, because we didn't want to put it on the page. And all Google wants you to do is give the customer what they're looking for. And then you rank high. That's it. It's that simple.
That's right.
Okay. Well, so if you've got all these individual pages, I'm going to go back to Mark Irvine for a second. Mark, the purpose of PPC is to defeat the competition. Is that true?
So purpose of PPC is that it's flexible. It can play the need you have on the field. It is not your frontman. It is not your demon. It can fit the need that you have. And as you have the strategy with SEO, of course, SEO isn't something that you're going to turn on and it's going to show up at the top of the page.
Right.
Goal, as you have this conversation with your dealership, is really to identify what is the biggest holes that you have in your overall strategy and how can you find PPC to fill in those holes.
Okay, so the biggest holes you have in your strategy.
Yeah.
Aren't you looking at the competition's websites and competition's SEO and trying to defeat what they're doing?
You most certainly can take that approach. The biggest piece of advice, the biggest piece of advice I would give as you look as your competition is that you're probably different in some area than your competition. There are going to be 7 ads that show up on every SERP. And if you go and you identify the other 6 competitors and mirror exactly what they're doing, you're going to get the exact same results as the other 6. What is special about you that your other competitors? Exactly. What's unique about you? What should you put money into highlighting that is unique about you, that is different from your competitors? I've previously worked with, not at SearchLab, but I've previously worked with competitors who were down the street from one another. All they would do is they would talk about what other people were doing, what their other friend was doing, and they had wildly different strategies, having wildly different results. And that's kind of the point. They both played to their strengths. Every time that they looked at the other and pulled a strategy from their campaign, that's where they struggled the most.
Correct.
Oh my gosh, I put the wrong website up. Sorry, guys.
You know why? But that's because we were talking about that yesterday when we were talking about fixed ops. And so you guys should share real quick. And Chelsea, if you're listening, please put this in the comments for them. The blog. The blogs that you guys have running are genius. I give them to dealers all the time and say,
tell me about it.
Basics. Genius.
Why?
Why are they genius?
Yeah.
Because they're simple to understand. You make it so easy for people to be able to watch something that's quick and actually understand it. They can look to the partner that they're using, if it's not you guys, or if it is you, to hold accountability, to understand the conversation. There's a lot of tips in there that you can easily use and do on your own as a dealer if you're not ready to be at that level yet. It's just quick and easy.
Okay.
Greg, last time we talked, we were talking about GMB. Now, the Dirty Rats changed their name, didn't they?
Yeah, I'm convinced they decided to do it because everybody finally switched off of calling it Google Places, and everybody was calling it Google My Business. And they said, well, now that everybody's calling it the same thing, let's change the name again and confuse everybody.
I can't believe
it's
it.
Google Business Profile now.
Business Profile,
GBP, which won't be confusing at all overseas.
Right.
Won't be well, how important is GBP?
Oh, it's hugely important. It's your first impression. Kind of like Bobby was saying that, SEO is a conversation. That conversation starts with a meet and greet, and that meet and greet, that first impression is your Google profile. Everybody that's been in the game for long enough to remember when we all started getting websites for the dealerships, the talk track was always, your website is your digital showroom. It's your first impression with customers, but that's not the case anymore because anybody that's looking for you by your name, they're going to see your Google business profile before they see your website. So you've got to make sure that it's optimized, but it's not just about people looking for you by name because your Google business profile is what allows you to show up in the map pack for more generic search results.
We're going to talk about the map pack in a minute, big guy, but
and also for showing up in Google Maps. So without a good, well-constructed, well-optimized Google business profile and multiple Google business profiles, because you should have one for each department, without that, you're not going to maximize your visibility in search. And so there's a lot of things out there that a lot of vendors and a lot of dealerships aren't doing that they could do that would definitely give them
the truth of the matter is,
which is on the blog. It's the SearchLab digital blog of awesomeness. It's a pro tip, guys. Like, trust me on this. I don't advocate for any vendors, and I'm on here telling you.
Where's the SearchLab blog? I'm hearing about this.
It's on SearchLab Digital's page. So if you just go to blog, and it's called the blog of awesomeness. I like to just Google it because that's how I search for things. I don't go to the website. But the video and the commentary on there is simple, easy, and fun.
And what is it like educational? Tell me about it.
No, it's all. I mean, you're probably talking about my videos, right? Yeah. So I've been doing a weekly video series for over a decade at this point, but ever since I've been at SearchLab, I've done a weekly video series that comes out every Tuesday.
How much are you charging people to see that?
No, it's free. It's for free. You don't even have to give us your email address or anything. It's just free for everybody to see.
Wait a second. We can go to searchlabdigital.com and see dozens of videos by you and Mark Irvine. Do you have any of your videos up there?
Mine are up there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mark's
so we have
smart stuff there.
we have 2 weekly series. One is mine, which is Local Search Tuesdays, and those are typically less than 5-minute videos about specific topics. So it's one actionable tip related to SEO or paid search. And then Mark's series is called Suds and Search, and it's a video podcast. So it's a 20 to 30-minute conversation with a digital marketing expert or a dealership employee.
I've been a guest on that.
The Alpha Dawg's been on. Yeah, exactly.
I've been there.
Yeah.
It's a really cool blog, because like we were just talking about GBP. He was just giving you a tip on that. We only have an hour on this conversation, but if you go to that blog right now, that was this week's topic. So you can delve into what we just talked about and get the actual like the extent of the information.
We're going to have a lot of viewers that don't know what Google My Business, Google Profiles, whatever the hell it is now. A lot of people don't know what that is. Explain that to us.
So if you were to search Alpha Dawg Ford, then the panel of information on desktop, on mobile, it shows up at the very top, but on desktop, it's that panel that appears over to the right side that would have
It's got the photographs and the phone number.
Yeah, it's gonna have the Alpha Dawg Ford, your address, your phone number, your website. If you have any departments, it'll have the Q&A section. Now it's got cars for sale, so you can display your inventory.
Every dealer does a great job of that already. They don't need help.
Sorry, what was that?
Every dealer does a great job of that already. They really don't need help with that.
No, not at all.
Nobody does a great job of it. Think about it like a search result. Think about it like think about when you're on Google and you're looking for something. For some of our old dogs that are listening, I want you to think about the search results page, the SRP in Google, as the highway. You're driving down the highway, and when you see the Google My Business profiles, that's the billboard. That's the new version of a digital billboard. For the young dogs that are listening, think about it like Tinder. That's where you're swiping. That's your profile.
Does it sell cars? I mean, does it help?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Greg, talk some more about that. That's a subject we need your Google profile. Talk about.
Oh yeah, I mean it's hugely important. You can get leads without people ever going to your website. They don't.
That's what I was asking. You don't even need a website because you got your inventory. You've got all your information. How about your different departments? You guys build that. You guys will, as part of your services, you help build that. Correct?
Yeah. So the rules around your Google business profile typically state that to have different profiles, to have more than one listing, it has to be a separate business with permanent signage and a separate entrance and separate staff. For the vast majority of dealerships, sure, you've got the service lane that you can drive to and go into the building that way, but there's typically not separate signage and a completely separate front entrance. So historically, you weren't allowed to have different listings, but Google realized that the service department is a totally different business center and the parts department is a totally different business center. So Google has now changed the rules specifically for car dealers, and car dealers are allowed to have a separate listing, a separate profile for the dealership, for the parts department, for the service department. Now, you can go further. You could do the collision center. You could do your detail department. You can't do a finance department because that's not a separate business center. That's part of the car buying.
Most dealers are already doing that, correct?
Not as many as you'd think. The vast majority of dealers have not done this yet. The OEMs are starting to push it out. Ford pushed it out last year that everybody had to have them. Toyota's been doing it now. So more dealers are doing it, but not enough.
He's being gracious.
Yeah, most dealers aren't doing it. A lot of dealers will have only one setup, and they'll have service only, or they'll have service and parts on the same one. I was auditing a dealership group yesterday, and one dealership had 3 different service department listings, all listed as the department of the same Ford dealership, which you're not allowed to do, and that could get them suspended. So there's all kinds of weird, wonky stuff out there, and the vast majority of people do not do it correctly.
Right. Well, think about for a minute, like this is the part where it's important to have a partner. Like I've always said this, I don't advocate for very many vendor partners because of the shade that happens behind the scenes. I always advocate for this company because I know that we work together on a lot of accounts. I trust them, and I do that because the work gets put in and it's correct. But the thing for a dealer who's watching is like, you're not expected to just know this stuff. So when I say like, no, they're not doing it, I'm not like, wow, you're an idiot. I'm like, hey, you need a better partner or you need to find one. Your job is to run a business and sell cars, set you up correctly online so that you don't have to worry about those things and you have every opportunity available to you. It's wildly important to do this right.
Mark, how'd you get into this space? Mark Bealin. Mark, how did you get into this space?
Well, I've been doing this since 2007. And I started out in PPC and then moved over to SEO. This is the second agency I've founded. So I started another one when I was 25. And then that was a little bit more of a like work hard, play hard in the wrong order. And so once I started to have kids, I went out on my own. And so in 2017, I started this agency. We're coming up on 5 years in business, which is pretty exciting. And built it up about as far as I thought I could on my own. And then, we had a good little business, good story here in Chicago. And then I connected with Greg at a conference in Dallas. And he came on board and we kind of hit this next like hockey stick growth. And then
so all of a sudden you're in automotive. I mean, you're in other industries and you meet Greg and all of a sudden you're in automotive. That's the history.
That's it. So I like really more. I was a local SEO for a long time that kind of came into auto instead of, I noticed a lot of people in auto try and learn from Greg and other outsiders, but like I was outside and doing local SEO for the trades and for medical people and for lawyers and stuff like that. And then came into auto maybe 2 years ago, it sounds like right now. And just, we love it. And so then shortly, I don't know, 6 months after we hired Greg, he built it up enough, but we needed a lot of help on the PPC side. So Mark Irvine came on board. I met him on my show.
The foremost expert in the world. How'd you run these guys up?
I don't know. I ask myself that sometimes. I don't know how I can.
we need to get
smart man.
We need to
yourself by brilliant people.
Yeah,
we need to give them a raise, don't we?
Me? I should get a raise.
wait, no, not that one. Not that one. Wrong Mark.
That's what you were trying to say. Yeah. No, but so we've like if there's anything I've been pretty good at, it's like building a really good team. And so even the next rung down, the managers and the other directors at my company are top notch. And so there's expertise all the way throughout.
How big's your staff?
Last I checked, last payroll was 37 people and we're hiring. So
okay. Who are you hiring? We have this forum and we're going to reach a lot of people here. Who are we hiring?
We're looking for PPC people. We're looking for an SEO consultant. We need a marketing director. We need an administrative assistant. I need to hire people. Like if there's any stress, one of the biggest stresses in my life for the last 3 years has been hiring, which I know dealers can relate to. But yeah, it's been trying to scale this thing out and find good people. So we're hiring in SEO and in PPC right now. Roles up and down the ladder, team lead role and PPC is up. We're looking for a marketing director, which is you do not have to have a ton of digital experience to be this marketing director. We're looking for someone with breadth of knowledge in marketing, not necessarily depth, in terms of SEO or PPC knowledge. We need an administrative assistant. So I don't right now you're looking at the travel secretary of the company is me and Greg. More than me, I'm giving credit for him, but we need some help just sort of the logistics and growing this thing out.
Mark, you're going to be at NADA, right?
We're going to be at NADA. We'll have a big presence.
Should people come see you at NADA if they're interested in learning more about coming to work for such an awesome company?
Booth 5129W.
There we go. That's what I was looking for.
That's right.
5129W is our booth.
5129W. Chelsea, throw that up there.
Chelsea, please pop that up there for us.
And then also, I'm
can't miss it. It's a giant booth.
That's you.
Oh, it's actually not giant. Mark hasn't been to NADA yet, so he doesn't know how big Cox and some of those guys go.
Yeah. But
you're a NADA virgin
for most conferences, but not for NADA.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, sorry guys. I apparently don't know how big Cox are. But
I knew I liked you.
Also, if anybody out there is watching and you're going to NADA, I'm speaking at 2:30 on Thursday, doing a session on SEO and sharing a pretty detailed SEO playbook for.
So we're doing a workshop at NADA, Greg?
Yes.
And I'm handing out cash. That's all I'm doing all weekend. So
tell me about your session again, Greg.
So it's a guide to what to do for SEO in 2022. So it's kind of an updated version based on the algorithm updates that happened last year and kind of opens the kimono and says, hey, look, here's exactly what you need to do to get better visibility in 2022 for your dealership and searches.
Tell me some of your most recent success stories, Greg.
Well, last year we won a U.S. Search Award. We actually won 2 U.S. Search Awards. So the U.S. Search Awards are awards that are given out to digital marketing agencies. So it's not automotive specific. It's agencies that work with any vertical, any kind of business out there. And we won best local SEO for every agency in the United States with work that we did for a Kia dealership.
Why is local SEO important anyway?
Local SEO is important because local SEO is the strategy of targeting Google's local algorithm, which is what applies to car dealerships. So all car dealers should be doing local SEO. Most don't. Most do regular SEO because they don't know the difference.
You need
But
to
yeah,
make
so that was
a
the-
pizza video. You should
When
make
I
a
asked,
pizza
when I
video
asked
on
you,
local
when I
SEO.
asked you that question, I wasn't expecting that answer. What I'm looking for, without naming the names, what success stories do you have with dealerships?
Oh yeah, well, I mean that one's the Kia dealer that we won that award with. They're as of last month over a 1,300% increase.
That's
in
what I
organic
want to
traffic.
hear.
Not to say that everybody's going to get that, but that guy started with
Wait a
us.
minute, 1,300%.
Yeah, so he started to work with us in January of 2020, so a couple of months before COVID hit. So where everybody else tanked, his traffic's continued to go up. So when he started with us, his average monthly traffic was like 4,500 visits total to his website. And last month, he was over 60,000 to his website. So, I mean, he went from an average of 4,500 to being 55,000 to 60,000 a month in the space of just under 2 years. So that's pretty phenomenal.
That's
We've
huge.
got multiple dealers with triple digit increases in
See, that's
search
what we need to
traffic
talk
in a year.
about. We need
Do what?
to talk about the results we're getting in the dealerships. You know, everybody wins awards. Matter of fact, you can buy awards, but still, those glass trophies are getting more expensive every year.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, and it's not just that their traffic went up; it's that their leads went up significantly as well, and their
the
sales
quality.
went up.
The
So
quality of the leads went up as well too.
yeah, so like one of the case studies that like we're getting like professional case studies done right now, and we did a case study for a Toyota dealership in Florida, and they had I don't remember what increase in search traffic, but their leads increased by 400% in the space of a year. So that's, I mean, if we could guarantee a 400% increase in leads just for doing SEO, I'd sell SEO to every damn dealer in the country. Now, obviously, you can't guarantee that kind of result, but still, I mean, it's phenomenally better results
When
than
you're
what most
sitting there
dealers are used
talking
to.
about a 1,300% increase, when you're talking about going from 4,500 leads to 60,000 leads, is that what I just heard?
No, that was visitors to the website, not leads.
Visitors to it doesn't matter. Visitors to the website, any increase of that magnitude is incredible.
Opportunity.
Mark
Interestingly,
Irvine, do you have any success stories on the PPC side?
I mean, yeah, a lot of this is more flexible, right? The conversation I have a dealership whom recently has been doing local SEO, has seen great results from local SEO and our local SEO team on itself. But recently they've hit a unique opportunity where their market is in fact consolidating. They now have more opportunity to play as you define what their local market is. They can go out there and they can do more conquest. They can go reach new customers, really eat up what was previously a 4 dealership market, becoming a 3 dealership market. Rather than becoming a third of theirs, they can now go up and eat half of the market. As they go more aggressively in those kinds of areas, we're seeing that they're able to get in front of their competitors before before everyone wakes up and reacts to, oh, now there's a loss in the market. They're out there, they're able to buy themselves at the way of number one, as opposed to waiting for organic to necessarily pick that up on their own. So there's a lot of opportunity that I'm seeing people, particularly like it's still 2022, things are shifting on a dime in the world of inventory, in the world of CPO, in the world of service, how they go about integrating a paid strategy into their overall business strategy. we're seeing those people who are thinking a little bit more opportunistically get a lot of those results, as opposed to those sitting back waiting for those results to come to their site organically and finding them 6 months down the line.
Now, Greg, you mentioned the map pack earlier.
Yep.
One thing I'm wondering is SEO still valid when the map pack pushes the organic results down below the fold?
Yeah, because the map pack is powered by the organic algorithm.
Well, I knew the answer to that, but I want you to say it.
So it's a different section. So the signals that influence your visibility and placement in the map pack results are related. They're basically the same signals that matter for showing up in organic, but they're weighted differently. One of the things that's more important and more weighted in the map pack or in Google Maps is your real world physical location and your proximity to the person doing the search. So real world location and proximity are hugely influential.
Like Ford dealer near me, if that's a search.
Right. And a lot of people will cheat it. We see a lot of dealers that will put a page on their, or put content on their page that's like, the heading of their homepage is, "Are you looking for a Ford dealer near me? Come see Jim Ziegler Ford." And they think that saying Ford dealer near me in the text is going to help them show up for that search. But in reality, as soon as someone says near me in a search query, that's telling Google they want results that are close to them, to their physical location in the real world when they do that search. So at that point, SEO is still important, but SEO doesn't make you win. So the guy that ranks number one organically may not necessarily rank number one in that search, because that dealership, while it might have the best SEO and be the best answer, isn't the closest in proximity to the person.
That's where Mark Irvine with his PPC comes in.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and it's one of those things, like, the two go hand in hand. Everything Greg is saying about with your GMB does impact the local 3-pack. However, what a lot of dealerships are sleeping on, in large part because a lot of other vendors aren't telling them about, is you can take your GMB and make that an ad unit. If you're looking at when you go home and you look at the next local 3-pack that you see there, you might notice that first result isn't always an organic listing. You can still buy a GMB listing in that. It's called a local campaign. And a lot of vendors actually, particularly a lot of bigger vendors who rely on some technology that is a little outdated, don't have the ability to support that. So a really easy way to get ahead of your competitors, particularly if you're doing local SEO and you have a good GMB, a GBP, whatever we're calling it today, is to take that, put it in either a local campaign or Performance Max campaign, run it for $1,000 a month, and you get these kinds of results of like 3 cents per click, 4 cents per click to show up in those local map pack results. Even if you don't necessarily land in the local 3-pack organically, you can buy it with an ad unit.
I've not heard numbers as low as 3 and 4 cents a click. Are you sure?
I mean, that's what Google is telling me back, and that's what I'm paying them. So if they're only charging me 3 or 4 cents a click, then I'll take that accounting error all day long. But that's the miraculous thing. It's one of those things that it's a fairly new ad unit. It came out right in the beginning of 2020. So a lot of people were hesitant to go about promoting it in February, March of 2020. It ended up on the back burner for most of 2020. And a lot of these vendors who are currently out there haven't prioritized it over the other things, because they tell their partners about keyword search. They tell them about inventory search. They tell them about all these specific things. But there's this beautiful underutilized ad format that nearly no one else is using. And it's insane results, particularly if you are putting the effort into that GMB, that Google business profile. I'm going to get it wrong all day long. But if you're doing those optimizations, you're feeding it good to Google, then Google will see the fact it's a good result and it won't charge you a lot to show it up as an ad unit.
Well, you know, other dealers have agencies, and I'm sure they're all just as good as you, right?
No.
I wish, like, genuinely, I don't like to talk down about other agencies, but it is one of those things, unfortunately. Agencies who build a cadence, who have a software, have a system that they created in 2013 or 2016,
Right.
answered great PPC or SEO solutions.
Well, I'll say what you can't say. I'm going to say what you can't say. There's a lot of frauds, and fakers in this business. And
unfortunately true.
When I got two of the world-class, the PPC guy and the SEO guy in the same company, for heaven's sake.
Yep.
Will you? I know I'm going to put Mark Bealin on the spot here for a second.
Yeah.
Mark, I want to give these people a free marketing analysis of their marketing efforts. Will you guys do that?
Yeah, and you're in luck because
really?
we have a thing I'm really happy to promote. So Greg came out with a scoring matrix for our SEO clients.
You'll do it? Wait, you'll do it?
And we'll do it. And we're happy.
I was just throwing that out there.
I mean, so this is something we've been going to market with. It's very popular. Greg's been talking about it at different conferences, and anybody can come up. They can get their dealership scored on how well they're doing on these things that we're talking about. GMB, their on-site SEO.
Even if they got another company.
Even if they got another company, no problem. We want to help, and we're not. Again, we don't pretend like we're going to be the perfect partner for everybody. But we want to help. And then Mark, I've seen him do this a zillion times. Can look at your ads campaign, look at your social. And so far, he's a very nice guy, but it's like unbelievable to watch how much he can dissect a lot of these campaigns and find more value. So both of them are amazing at this kind of thing. And
he'll look at the PPC, he'll look at the ad campaign, he'll look at the social. You'll have Greg go over for the SEO. I mean,
yeah, I mean, like the way that I would, good comparison is like if you had if you wanted to have another accountant look at your tax return and maybe they could save you some money, wouldn't you do it? The same kind of thing if you want to save money on your PPC campaign, have Mark take a look. And inevitably, I've never seen it one time where he isn't able to save you a lot of money or make your money work smarter than it is now. And then with Greg, I think the scoring matrix this is one of the most popular things we've had. We're getting requests. As soon as he talks about it, we get inundated with requests for scoring matrices. And before, when you were talking about like, isn't everybody doing it right? The proof is in the pudding when we do these scoring analysis is that like hardly anybody's doing it right. I mean, the scores are very low, and usually we're able to make a market improvement.
Hey, Mark, between you and me, I already knew the answer to the question.
So I want to just throw something out real quick because I just got a couple text messages for questions on things we're talking about, and a couple people from our Alpha Dawg tribe said, "Oh, you guys are talking about marketing. We're going over it." So for those of you who don't know, the reason that I'm on the show with them today because they're asking, and this is about them. I know I get introduced as BDC a lot, but my company offers this program called Marketing Referee. And what that means is I actually work with them and their teams with clients. We don't, instead of just doing BDC, right? We come in and actually work directly with the people that run these accounts. I have real clients with them with real results.
Okay, you've got
that
real
do a
clients
killer job with
real
real results.
Now,
Bobby, and I am not an easy person to deal with when you're the vendor partner. So,
Bobby is the best of the best, and she's not working with anybody that isn't the best of the best.
No.
So when we talk about SearchLab Digital, searchlabdigital.com, we're talking about the epitome of this field. Now, Mark Irvine, let me ask you a question. I just heard social media. Are you doing anything with that?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, that's the whole thing is you spend some time, exactly, you're listening in here. Glad it's coming through. So when we chat about search doesn't happen in a vacuum. And what's going to happen is after every single one of these searches, when let's say like you have the best person come through on an organic listing or on a PPC ad, what's not going to happen is they're not going to click on that ad or that organic listing and drop $50,000 on a car today. What's going to happen is at best, I know, we wish, but at best we can hope for them to be really engaged, see what they want, and then they're ultimately going to, I'm married, I know I'm going to have to go back and I have to speak to the real stakeholder in the relationship, show them what I'm looking at. They're going to want to compare around prices, all of that stuff. So as we chat about the 99.99% of the time that you're not on google.com doing a search, social is probably the next, or sorry, not probably, the next area where people spend the most of their time online. And so you can very inexpensively, again, run ads on social to re-engage with those people who have seen cars on your site, show them that same car, show them a nicer cars, try and upsell them, push them further along the funnel. You'll see that you're able to, again, for maybe $1,000, maybe $2,000 a month, you can just rent that mind share as they're comparing you against everyone else. And it's literally your digital billboard to bring them back to your site.
Mike Leap just checked in on the sidebar. I had to say hello to him. Dealer up in Indiana. So social media is, we're talking about Facebook, we're talking about YouTube, we're talking about other avenues. Mark Bealin, what have we not talked about that we need to discuss right now?
Well, I mean, it's something that we've been talking about in different ways throughout the conversation, but I think it's worth kind of reiterating, because I'm a business owner and I understand there's anxiety about this chip shortage, and people are.
Well, that's the big question right now. The chip shortage is why people are reticent to advertise, why they pull back their dollars, why they've disappeared from the market. And we're saying, hey, you need to charge ahead. You need to go full speed ahead with your SEO. You need to be in the people's faces. That you can't lay down and die. I mean, you can grow or you can die, but you can't stay where you're at.
That's it. I mean, I think you have two choices. I think you have two choices. You can race to the bottom or you can race to the top. And if you are making a choice to be conservative right now, I mean, you can hear me say it. Like, I'm a business owner as well. I have to watch the P&L every month and make sure that we have more money coming in than we're spending. But every decision I make is with that mindset. Are we racing to the bottom or are we racing to the top? And I would suggest to car dealers right now, it's like, I can understand the anxiety as a business owner myself. I could feel that during COVID and during everything else, but now is not the time to not be doing SEO, not the time to be cutting out marketing that is working is never a good idea. And so I would say, to reiterate the point that we've kind of had come up a number of times today, race to the top, don't race to the bottom.
Well, the biggest thing I'm looking at right now, it's not, and I did a whole blog on this a while back. It's not whether you advertise, it's what you advertise.
That's it. Yeah.
I mean, now there are subjects like vehicle acquisition, technician acquisition. I mean, the shortage of techs, just employment, technician acquisition, making offers and bringing people over, pirating technicians from other dealerships, basically. Vehicle acquisition, we're talking about service department. There's so many things we can advertise. A dealership is a multifaceted business. And when you talk about your business profile, your former GMB, that is so important. So many of you dealers are doing a crappy job of it. And whoever's doing it for you is doing a crappy job of it, and you're not aware of it. These guys will give you a free marketing analysis. I mean, all you got to do is get on search. Wait a second, I got a better idea.
Just have them email me.
I'm going to put you on the spot. What's your phone number, Gifford?
Don't do phone, do email. It's greg@searchlabdigital.com.
Okay, Greg at searchlabdigital.com. Look at this. I am a genius.
So anybody that wants the SEO scoring done or wants us to get in and take a look at what's going on with paid search, we're happy to do so. Even if you're not wanting to buy from us, don't feel like this is a veiled way of we're just going to get you on a call and then be like, okay, here's your demo.
Right.
Like if you're stuck with your vendor because you're in a contract, doesn't matter. We're still here to help. We'll still help. So let us know. And on the Google ad side, when Mark takes a look, best thing is going to be if you're owning your own account and you have access to let us see your account so we can see what's going on. But there are, unfortunately, a lot of bad vendors out there that don't let you have access to your ad account. If that's the case and you're working with somebody like that, you should for sure run away. I'm not saying that to try to get you to work with us, but definitely don't work with them. But if you don't have access to your ad account, it would be helpful to at least get access to see Google Analytics, because otherwise there's not a whole lot we can tell about what's going on with your ads.
Well, what do you know about Google, Greg?
I mean, I know a little bit.
I mean, do you have any credentials?
Yeah, I'm actually a product expert. So Google has public forums for each of its individual products, and those forums are staffed by volunteers. So whenever people have problems, they can go post on the forum, and a volunteer will answer their question for them. once you have answered enough questions consistently, you get invited to be what's called a product expert. And that gives you a little badge to let people know, hey, this person's been endorsed by Google and they know what they're talking about. And then once you get into the product expert program, if you continue to do so at a certain pace, you start getting escalated in levels. And the top 3 levels are gold, platinum, and diamond. When you're at the gold, platinum, or diamond level, you actually have an NDA signed with Google, because you get to know about a lot of things that are coming before they actually release to the public.
They let you in on the secret stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm a gold level product expert, so I do have an NDA. There is a lot of crazy stuff I could talk about that I'm not allowed to.
Stuff. That's amazing.
But also the other cool thing is I have a weekly meeting with Google. So every Friday morning I have a 30-minute meeting with the Google Business Profile team. So I'm not talking to Google support. I'm talking to the actual Google Business Profile team. So when there are issues, we're able to escalate those issues and go directly. But the more important bit is, you know, I'm a product expert, and then our director of SEO is also a product expert. So there's a lot of advantages to working with an agency partner that does have a product expert on staff, because you know that they actually know what really works and the right way to do things, and they have an avenue to get help if there are problems where, you know, if you don't have that in your corner and you run into a roadblock, it's going to be tougher to get that solved.
So they can contact you and just ask you questions. I mean, they don't even have to have an analysis of their marketing. Anybody that wants to know any, I mean,
an hour ago, I had not an hour ago, because we've been on this call for an hour, but before this call, I had like a half-hour call with a couple guys from a dealership group, and they're out shopping for SEO and paid search right now. And we did a demo last week, and they called back today and said, look, man, we're talking to a lot of different vendors, but we just don't really understand at a basic level how Google works. Can we just
That's the purpose of this broadcast. Thank you so much. That's the purpose of this broadcast. There are so many people in the car business, and we assume that they're on our level or your level. They're not. They're not on my level. They're not on your level. They're, you know, and we have to explain things and dumb it down a little bit where everybody in the car business understands why we do this.
Yep.
I mean, when we talk about your Google profile, why do you do that? That's what I've been pulling out of you the entire interview here. Why do we?
This is one of those things where you go like, why not?
Yeah.
Okay.
At its most basic form, why wouldn't you have SEO on your site? I mean, every single person watching this, listening to this, searches Google in a similar fashion. We ask it a question, we want it to give us an answer. That is the same concept that your customer is trying to accomplish in what they're doing. And there's all these tricks to make it where you show up first and you're right there and you have the answer and you're like a magical psychic genius to do it. Why wouldn't you do that?
And
I'll tell you what else about them, just real quick. One of my favorite things in working with them, with my clients next to them on these calls, is the size of the teams. These teams are not overloaded. And I think it's important to say that because we're talking about them hiring too. These teams are not overloaded. I have multiple different people that I work with in their company with the different dealerships, whether it's on the calls or just going over reviews. They're always available. They're always polite. I'm not saying like call them at like 2:00 in the morning. I'm saying there's always a reasonable time frame that they get back to us on. And I have never had them tell me something that was untrue. These SEO, especially the SEO team, I work with them pretty hand in hand. And they are always giving me real information. If they don't have an answer, I'll get back to you. And they always do. They develop really good relationships, which is one of the things I think is most important that you can have in your vendor partners is the relationship. And not everybody that's good at doing a form of marketing is good with people, right?
Yeah, and we set it up that way on purpose because there's a lot of vendors out there in automotive that are selling you SEO or paid search or whatnot, and each member of the team is responsible for 100+ dealers every month. Mm-hmm. And if you break down the hours there, if you're working 40 hours a week, there's 160 hours in the month. And you know you're going to have your own internal meetings and emails that you're sending and other things there. So if you've got 100 dealers or even 80 dealers that you're working with, that means for the money that you're spending on SEO, even if you're spending $3 or $4 grand or $5 grand a month, if you're working with one of those vendors, no matter what you're spending, you're getting maybe an hour or two of work a month. And that's
do you have a lot of competitors a lot of competitors in the same market?
No, we're exclusive in a market. So if we're
Well,
working with you, we're not working
wait a
with your
second.
competitor.
I might have known the answer to that question. But, so you're exclusive in a market. Tell me about exclusive in a market. What does that mean?
Well, that means that if you're a Ford dealer, we're not working with any other Ford dealers in your market. And that's because you're paying to get the best visibility possible in your market. How could we work with 4 or 5 dealers in the same market and 4 or 5 people are paying us to get high visibility? Well, one of those
But there
guys,
are agencies doing that.
well, yeah, pretty much everybody else in automotive will sell SEO and paid search to anybody in the market, and they don't care, especially if you're using an OEM approved vendor, whether it's Shift Digital or Internet Brands or Ford Direct or whatever. Any dealer that wants to sign up can, and you can't say no. So it is very common that in any market out there, you've got the same vendor doing paid search or SEO for all of the same dealers. So you might have, in Dallas, there's 20 Ford stores in the Dallas market. You might have 12 or 13 of those stores all using the same vendor to do SEO and paid search. How's that going to work? Because there's not even that many spots on page 1. So
I was aware of that with Shifty Digital, but I didn't know.
Well, and like I work with multiple PPC vendors, but for SEO entirely, like overall SEO, this is the only one, and that is part of it because the exclusivity is important. And so dealers will always say this. They always say it or get co-opable every time. No, not every time. But do you want to spend the exact same amount of money? They're like, it's free money. It's not free money. Your competitor is doing the exact same thing. They're using the same people, the same product, and the same technique. It's actually worse that you're taking the money than it is that you're actually spending it smart outside of that.
Bobby, you are so correct. I've had so many dealers say, well, I know it's a crappy company, but I'm getting half of that crappy service paid for.
Yeah, you're paying for half of that crappy service, and you're paying to be just like your competitor.
It's actually more expensive to use co-op to buy your SEO and paid search because the co-op program exists to force dealers to use those OEM approved vendors. If the manufacturers really cared, they would let you co-op anybody as long as you're doing it and you meet certain levels of service or whatever you offer. You've got to have certain deliverables. But to say we're only going to co-op you if you use one of these 3 and all 3 of them suck, what's the point of co-op then? It's forcing you to use the people that suck because it's been vetted by the program or whatever. Who cares? It's more
it's a popularity contest. That's what it is.
And it doesn't help you.
Yeah, and there are some co-op programs that are great. In this, for instance, though, there's really not if you're using the exact same people and technique, and most of the time the same performance manager on an account is your competitor, you are not standing apart. If you don't know why somebody should buy a car from you and you can't express that, you better find a partner that can help you express that, because otherwise you all look the same. The only variable that you have is the people, process, and technology. And if you're not highlighting that, or you look like your competitor, you're not standing out. You got to wife your customer up, and you got to wife your partners up. And you can't be doing this one night stand stuff out here where you're just like all willy-nilly. I'll just run this campaign and do this, and that sounds great. It's a popularity contest most of the time with the OEM.
What I'm encouraging everybody is to get on your computers and contact Greg Gifford. There it is, greg@searchlabdigital.com, and arrange for a free total marketing analysis of your PPC, your SEO, your entire social and PPC spectrum of advertising. Take a look
and look,
at
if you guys want a reference, call me, and I will give you. We'll let you look at a real client account that they will let you look at, and I will give you a real view of what it looked like before and what it looks like now.
There you go. Now, Bobby is basically a third-party, impartial source. I mean, we're all friends here. I mean, I got to admit, all 5 people on this screen are friends with each other, so understand that. But
we're friends, but friends in business are different. I got a lot of friends I tell you not to work with.
Exactly.
They're a good time, but you shouldn't pay them.
They're really great people, but don't hire them.
Right.
No, absolutely. Mark Bealin, as we wrap up the hour we spent together, what would you like people to know about SearchLab?
Well, the first thing is we're going to be at NADA. Greg mentioned where we'll be. I just want to make sure everyone knows I'm going to be handing out cash there. So anybody who comes to our booth and takes a demo at NADA I'm going to hand them $100 if
it's a pre-scheduled demo.
If it's a pre-scheduled demo. Thank you for the
travel concierge over here.
all the I count on you for the fine print. If you sign an agreement with us for SEO or PPC at the conference, I'm going to give you $500 cash. So not a gift card, not a, not some sort of virtual card. Like
Benjamins.
Yeah, Benjamin. So we want people to come by our booth. We want you to pre-schedule demos so I can hand out this money.
And where do they do that at?
They'll do it at the booth. So we'll have people. We're going to have a big presence there.
No. Where do they schedule that?
It
would be.
I'm sorry. At the website, we have an NADA page.
Yeah, I'll put it into. Can I put it in the regular chat? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a restream. Let me do this.
So there's a video there from Greg that can kind of go over all of what I just said here. So if you missed anything or I talked too fast, we'll have all of that show special. That's for PPC and SEO. And you'll be able to sign up if you're looking for both services. We'll be able to give you a demo for both services as well. So we're really looking forward to making a big splash at NADA. We're gonna have a lot of people there. Greg's gonna speak and he's gonna rock it like usual. And please come by and visit us. Let me buy your dinner or a little game of blackjack later in the day. So I'm looking forward to handing out cash to people.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Is this it?
That is it. That is our landing page. So if you go to that page, it pulls up a link that will let you. It's not pulling up a link to send in a form or to talk to anybody on the phone. You literally don't have to talk to anybody. It's a Calendly link, so it'll pull up your calendar and let you book a time to talk to us. All you have to do is book that, show up for that demo. You get $100.
And I got one more thing.
I'm going to gift you a domain name to send to that to make that easier after the show.
There you go. And then one more caveat, like once those spots are filled up, they're filled up. So there's a limited amount of availability. And these are really popular. Like as soon as we started talking about it, spots are getting filled up. So do it quick because we can't guarantee it as you get closer to the show.
Fantastic. So people can go online and it goes right into Calendly. They can book the time. Greg?
That's it. Greg? It's that easy.
That easy. Yep.
Okay, so fantastic. So the other thing, Greg at SearchLab Digital, you want to talk to Gifford. You want to arrange a demo, or you want to arrange just a marketing analysis. There's the website to do it, or there's the email.
Greg, do you have a specific page for that, for if they want to request that analysis other than just emailing it in? Do you guys have one built for that yet?
No, because we were going to build a page, but I started talking to dealers about it. And a lot of dealers feel like if they're going to a page and requesting it through a page that they're going to get dropped into like marketing automation and get emails and crap. Yeah. And so every time I'm like, hey, I could set up a page. Would you do it? And they're like, well, I'd be worried you're going to send me email marketing and junk after that. So we just kind of left it at just shoot me an email if you want it, and I'm happy to do it.
If you want to pop on a landing page, I own doesyourmarketingsuck.com and I'll loan it to you. I also own doesyourSEOsuck.com, so you can have that too.
As we wind up the broadcast, we're a couple minutes over, but what the heck? Did we accomplish what we need to accomplish? Did we get the information out there today, guys?
Yeah, for sure.
I think we did. So anyway, thank you. This is SearchLab Digital. They're going to be at the convention. What's the booth number, Greg?
5129W.
5921.
5129. 5129.
5129W. Hey, listen, guys. It's been great. Say goodbye to the audience.
Thanks for having us.